Nietzsche. Let the people believe that cognition has to do with simple recognition. The philosophers must say to himself something like this: when I analyze the process which is expressed in the sentence I think, then I get a series of bold assertions whose proof would be difficult, perhaps impossible. For example, and he says in another place, a little excerpt, but why must we have truth at all costs anyway? For example, that it is I do who do the thinking. That more generally, there is something which performs thinking. That thinking is an activity and an effect of a creature which is thought of as its cause. That there exists an I. Finally, that it is already determined that it is to be designated with the word think. In other words, that I know what thinking is. For if I hadn't already decided what it was, how should I be able to distinguish what is happening now from what happens when I will or feel? Enough. The I think assumes that I compare my present condition with other conditions that I know in myself in order to determine what it is. Because of this referral to other knowledge, I think, for me at least, cannot have immediate certainty. In place of that immediate certainty, in which we shall have to let the people believe in certain given cases, the philosopher, as we see, gets his hands on a series of metaphysical questions. So again, let me go back. How should I be able to distinguish what is happening now from what happens when I will or feel? Enough. The I think assumes that I compare my present condition with other conditions that I know in myself in order to determine what it is. Because of this referral to other knowledge, I think, for me at least, cannot have immediate certainty. In place of that immediate certainty in which we shall have to let people believe in certain given cases, the philosopher, as we see, gets his hands on a series of metaphysical questions. They are real intellectual questions of conscience. Where do I get the concept thinking? Why do I believe in cause and effect? What justifies me in speaking of I, further, an I, which is a cause, further, an I, which is a thought cause? So as far as superstitiousness of logicians is concerned, I do not tire of emphasizing again and again one little briefly stated fact which these superstitious ones do not like to admit. It is simply this: the thought comes when it will, and not when I will. It is thus a falsification of the evidence to say that the subject I conditions the predicate think. It is thought, to be sure, but that this it should be that old famous I is, to put it mildly, only a supposition, an assertion. Above all, it is not an immediate certainty. In the end, even it is thought says too much. Even this it contains an interpretation of the process and does not belong to the process itself. Our conclusion is here formulated out of our grammatical custom. Thinking is an activity. Every activity presumes something which is active. Hence, according to this same approximate scheme, our older atomism was looking for the force that has an effect for that little clod of matter that it inhabits, from which it acts. In short, the atom. More rigorous minds finally learn to get along without such earthly remains, and perhaps, in logic, we will someday become accustomed to getting along without that little it, into which the good old honest I has evaporated.